The South African government has a very simple plan that has been used for 30 years and more and has been used all over the world. And the idea is very simple. What you need to do is starve the population.
Now, South Africans are starving. That's according to the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group. The average cost of a household food basket stands at a staggering 4,800 rand. And with poverty in South Africa and structural unemployment at 45%, the hunger crisis is serious.
Make sure a large portion of your population, if not all of them, is starving or near to starving, where the only thing occupying their daily life is their ability to get food and where their next meal is going to come from.
Many families in rural parts of the Eastern Cape live below the poverty line. Many rely only on social grants for income. 84-year-old Maswedekile Pechana lives with her 8 children and grandchildren. The family lives in a dilapidating structure, and their only source of income is the elderly's social grant.
I am always hurting because my life has been like this for decades and decades. I always ask God to stop this poverty over my family. I sleep on the floor. I do not have a bed, nothing. All of my children sleep down. I am asking God to take my life because this life is unbearable.
People who are struggling for the next meal do not have time to think about ideas of delodging a government, innovating and causing society-wide change. They have no feeling and are not inclined to overthrow you.
We grew up suffering under the watch of my mother. We have been poor since we were born. We are really worried because my mother is old, and should she die, we are out. We sleep on empty stomach because there are many of us here and we are not working. We are asking for government to also consider us.
They are not going to oppose the government because they do not feel up to it. They are just battling every single day to get a meal for themselves, their family, and for their children, to make sure their children are fed. The people that do this best are, of course, North Korea. Starving a population allows you to be their God because you are their provider, you are their sustenance, you are their source. You become the person who gives them everything and can sustain them generation after generation. And if they step out of line, there are dire consequences. Now, in North Korea, you get thrown into a labor camp with sadistic guards. In South Africa, you just grind to a halt and your whole life stops.
Well, I think South Africa is a movie. We live in a drama. It's a series. Every day you will be shocked by something new. We have even forgotten what shocked us 2 weeks ago.
Because there is no opportunity, there is no job. You are just hungry, you are just starving, and you're trying to make a way every single day for yourself and your family. It is hands off, and all the government has to do is slow down the economy and grind everything to a halt. And then, when everything grinds to a halt, it starts to devolve. The police services, the military services, the hospitals, the roads, and you slowly demoralize the population in starvation, hunger, and a lack of opportunity.
A few moments later.
She is unemployed and has to look after 6 children, with the youngest being 3 years old. Some nights, they go to bed hungry.
Yes, my life changed dramatically. I was working in Durban, but after the death of my mother, things changed. I had to quit everything, schooling and working. But now it is very hard. When there is not enough food, my younger brother and I just give our food to the little ones.
And this is the black government that came out of apartheid saying they will free their people. We now have a course available for boys between the ages of 10 and 18. It's called the Men of the Bible course. We discuss manhood, masculinity, and becoming a man through the lens of 12 men from the Bible, like Joseph, like Adam, like Samson. And we take them through the stories and the lives of these men. And then we pull out some negative lessons, some positive lessons, and some notable doctrinal and theological points while pulling out one major lesson that the boys can take away. Check out this course if you know a young man between the ages of 10 and 18. When more than half the households in South Africa are living off social grants, less than 500 Rand a month, you tell me if those people are starving or not. And starving causes children to be stunted, which means they will be limited in IQ and life achievement, further solidifying why they will never overthrow you. This was the government plan all along. And if it works for North Korea, I guess it works for the ANC.
But the situation is even dire when you look at how this is impacting children. Now, we have 12.7 million children in South Africa who depend on the child support grant of 408. Now, the child support grant of 480 is 28% below the poverty line, because the poverty line is 663 Rand. That child support grant is also 42% below the average nutritious diet for a child, which is 828 Rand. Now, to make the situation worse, we are aware that in South Africa, many people who rely on the the child support grant, it doesn't just go to the child, but it supports the entire family. So if you have an average nutritious food basket standing at over 4,800, surely that child support grant of 480 is a drop in the ocean. And if your structural unemployment standing at over 45%, you just have to ask yourself, what is 45% of the country eating when the average household food basket is over 4.8?
Starvation is a political issue. Lack of food is a political issue, and it is a political weapon to be wielded against citizens in order to keep them subjugated and demoralized. And here's the thing, it is really, really effective. How do you enslave people without locking them in chains or writing laws that keep them subjugated and separated? You starve them. Starving people do not have time for high political ideas.
Perfect.
They're spending every single day trying to survive. It occupies the mind, it weakens the body and the will, making them easy to control, easy to move around, and dependent on you. A saying, it always seems impossible until it's done. Nelson Mandela. Best solution would be a free market, closed border, law and order government of conservatives with a party led by millennials. We now have a course available for boys between the ages of 10 and 18. It's called the Men of the Bible course. We discuss manhood, masculinity, and becoming a man through the lens of 12 men from the Bible, like Joseph, like Adam, like Samson, and we take them through the stories and the lives of these men, and then we pull out some negative lessons, some positive lessons, and some notable doctrinal and theological points while pulling out one major lesson that the boys can take away. Check out this course if you know a young man between the ages of 10 and 18. Thank you for listening. If you dare, buy us a coffee. The link is in the description.